Governor Sandoval's tax plan, one similar to the margins tax that was defeated in November by Nevada voters, passed out of the Nevada Senate. Majority Leader Michael Roberson leading the way.
This is an historic day. Today we are voting to make an historic targeted investment in the modernization and reform of our K-12 education system. In other words, an investment in our present and in our future. I want to thank Governor Sandoval for his leadership and vision. His leadership got us here today, and this is his vision of a new Nevada. And I am grateful to be in a position to support his leadership today. Change is never easy, and it has been easy for the naysayers to criticize. Fine, let them. Today, we are poised to help Nevada grow up as a state and to do the very tough things that the people of Nevada expect of us. We were all elected to address problems and to find solutions. That is the case irrespective of your party designation. Also, this is more than the historic investment in education. This is about real tax reform that broadens our tax structure and makes our tax structure much more fair and equitable. As Oliver Wendell Holmes said, taxes are the price we pay for a civilized society. I believe those taxes should be fairly allocated and not unfairly borne by one group versus another. I would ask each of you, why are we here? If not to provide the children of our state with the opportunity to succeed, and in the process, allow Nevada to succeed. Today's vote is not about the next election, but rather the next generation. The voters may not agree with every decision or every vote we take, but I assure you, they are looking for people with courage to stand for something more than just ourselves or our next election. They're looking for leadership. Today, let's show them we can deliver.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just briefly, I happened to watch the movie Saving Private Ryan again last night. I was just channel surfing and found it and couldn't turn it off again. That was hard. This is not hard. Nothing we do in this building is hard. Not so hard as to cause all the hand-wringing and the sleepless nights and the indecision and the worry. This is not hard. I couldn't agree more with my very distinguished colleague from District 13, my colleague from Washoe County, when she says that it's time. And it's not just about education funding, it's about funding everything else that we all agree that the state has to fund: public safety, our judicial system, roads, bridges, mental health, you name it. It's time. I really appreciate the comments from our colleague from District 3. It's time. Now is the time. I do also appreciate our colleague from District 1 working on this effort. The amendment didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to most of us, as it turns out, but it wasn't because we don't respect the effort and the time she has put into this. Those of us who serve on the Revenue Committee have seen that day in and day out. I also want to just recognize our colleague from District 7, I think it is, who, despite not being officially a member of the Revenue Committee, where the hard work on this bill took place, he accepted the Majority Leader's invitation to show up, and I think showed up every day to every hearing. I know we're all busy, and most of us had conflicts with those committee hearings who weren't on the committee, but our colleague showed up every day. He helped us vet the policy and vet the proposal. And this proposal has been vetted, and it may not be perfect. Time will tell, and we'll see what the ultimate result is, but it's time. It's time to finally step up and do what we all know is right, and finally take a step toward funding education adequately in our state. It's time to vote yes on this bill, move this process forward, and get this right once and for all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senators Don Gustavson and Scott Hammond spoke out against the bill.
Reasons. Although, I'm totally not against raising taxes. We do need more money for education. I agree to that. I do not agree necessarily that these are the programs that we need to go to, and I'm not supporting the programs either, many of them. But for Senate Bill 252 is very similar to the margins tax that we just voted down last November. I don't care what anybody says, it's very similar in ways. It puts a big tax on the businesses, which many of them cannot afford to do. It will also discourage businesses from coming to Nevada, and many people have told me that they have businesses here now. They're going to leave the state of Nevada if this bill passes. Whether they do or not, that's time will tell. But I've been told this over and over again, same thing with the margins tax that we just recently defeated. The cost to businesses will be unaffordable to many of these businesses. They're small businesses, they can't afford a business tax, and then including they're going to have a much more higher cost in their accounting fees. So those that do not have CPAs, we're going to have CPAs now. If you think your federal income tax forms and filings are difficult, wait till you get the Nevada IRS that we have to support and fight now. We have. It might not look as much today as being a troublesome, burdensome bill and tax filings to do, but you just wait a couple of years. This is just a foot in the door. Once this tax passes, it's going to continue to grow and grow and grow and just hurt our business economy tremendously. And as far as having courage has been mentioned quite a bit already this morning in this bill. What also takes courage to take up and stand and say no. My constituents know where I stand on a lot of these issues, and it takes a lot of courage for me sometimes to get up here and say, no, I'm not going to support the governor's bill on taxes, and some of my colleagues too. But I have to do that. I have to do what I believe is correct, and this is why I'm stating these. Another thing I want to mention is that many of these programs the governor wants to implement require a lot more staffing. Hundreds of people, maybe even thousands of people if all these are implemented. Right now, we're over 600 teachers short in Clark County. We cannot find staffing for those teachers. There's substitutes sitting down there now. Washoe County, same thing. Over 100 teaching positions vacant. Where are we going to find more staffing for all-day kindergarten, pre-K? I mean, yeah, there might be some sound good, feel good ideas here, and some of them do work. But where are we going to find the staffing? It's not there, folks. So let's don't pass a bill that's for all this money, hundreds of millions of dollars into programs that we cannot manage. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Years ago, I was asked to talk in a graduation ceremony, and the students have always asked me. They said, how do you come to making tough decisions? How do you arrive at that? And I always say, look, you have to know yourself. And in the moment you know yourself, you can make a lot of your decisions before they even occur, or before you're asked to make a decision. You've already made it. And so during that speech, I told them, look, I know that I gave them a list. I said, this is who I am, and I gave them a list. And I said, I'm a son of a Heavenly Father. I'm the husband to a loving and adoring wife. I'm the father of 4 children. I'm a girls' basketball coach, and I'm an educator. Well, today, the decision I make is based upon being an educator, and perhaps a few of those others, but mostly on that. And I know that it may come as a shock to some when I tell you how I'm going to vote or how you see me vote, but as an educator, I believe, when I heard that state of the state, I was encouraged by what I heard from the governor. I know that education is a big priority now in the state, and it's been in my life. I've taught, I've been on boards of charter schools, I've been advocates of education and reading and all the other programs that are associated with bringing up the next generation. So while I do support the governor's motivation, and I believe in some of the programs that we've had. We've vetted a lot of programs in the Education Committee. We've gone through a lot of them, talked about the good parts, the bad parts. I've been in discussions where we said, what can we do to help? The Zoom schools are, I think it's a great avenue or venue for making change in that community. Victory schools, I support those. We've put some fences around it and parameters so we we can find out exactly what student achievement is going to occur there, or if it has occurred there. We know all these things and we're hoping for those things. I want to fund that. I want to fund that and other programs, a Read by 3 program. I want to fund those so that they're successful. However, today, what we have before us is a plan that I don't think the mechanism to get us there. I don't think it is the mechanism to get us there. I'm very concerned with it. In November, the people of my Senate district in the state overwhelmingly voted against a gross margins tax. Now, this bill is a little bit different from the bill or the idea that we voted on in November, and I'll grant you that it's a little bit better than what we had there. But I'm still concerned with a bill that taxes companies based on their top line revenues. Some other concerns that I have with SB252 are that the actual revenues that will concerns the actual revenues that will be raised for the state. Again, as mentioned by my colleague from the South, the review that was done by the Gwynn Center said this. It said it believes 252 contains elements of good tax policy. We have concerns with the rates as proposed. First, the roughly 24 rates increase the transaction costs related to implementation and compliance. Interviews with tax policy analysts in other states revealed the challenges of a system with many rates. Second, as discussed in the following pages, the proposed rates do not correlate with Nevada's economy, the national profitability of the industry, and state and local labor costs. The legislature should be cautious, and I agree with it, in the amount of revenue it assumes will be received from the business license fee because Nevada does not currently collect data on gross receipts, and there is not an external source with accurate, detailed information. And then to emphasize this point, when Texas implemented the Texas franchise tax, the original revenue estimate was $5.9 billion. However, the actual revenue was $4.5 billion, which amounted to a 24% difference in estimated versus realized revenues. I don't want to get into funding and then a year later find out we don't have enough resources and then have to come back here in a special session. I want something, and I keep hearing from my colleagues that this is not what we're going to have in the end. Now, I realize that. There are going to be changes. There's going to be some compromises. But I don't want to vote on something like this and then perhaps it gets through and then not have enough revenue. And so that in a year from now, we're all gathered together again, voting on another tax package. I want to wait. I want to wait for the economic forum to meet. I want to find out what our projected revenue is. I'm going to wait until we find out some other compromises to the bill. I do, and I want to emphasize this, I do want to support. I want to raise the revenue necessary to fund the programs that we think are going to bring Nevada out of the bottom of the list. I put my whole life into it. I see my educators, I see my colleagues scrambling. And there's a lot of pressure on them right now, a lot of pressure to perform, a lot of pressure to get things right. But I want to make sure that the funding is there for them. And so with that having been said, I'm going to wait for the right vehicle to come along before the end of the session, but I want to be there. And I appreciate your indulgence for the last few minutes. And I will not be supporting the bill. Thank you.
The final vote was 17-4, meeting the 2/3 requirement to raise taxes, sending it to the GOP-controlled assembly. Teresa Catalani for the Stealth Reporter at the Nevada Legislature.